So on Friday, we continued our notes over composite figures, and you were able to find the total area of this by finding the base and height of each rectangle and then multiplying those to find the area and adding those together. We're going to continue that on the back, breaking it up into different shapes, and now we're incorporating triangles. You see there's going to be a triangle here. So you can break this up any way that you see a division. You can draw a line here, make this a rectangle going this way, and then draw a line here to make this middle part a rectangle. You could also break it up this way, draw a line here. But either way, you're still going to have a line here. So let's go ahead and make this triangle. And we're going to call this 1. It's just easier to keep up with the shapes if you go ahead and kind of number them. We'll just draw another line here. Make this 2 and 3. So now, let's look at what would be the base and height of each one. Sometimes you don't always have to figure it out. Sometimes they tell you. So they're actually telling me that this side is 5, this base, and they're telling me that this height is 10. So to find the area of this rectangle, that's what you're going to use, because the area of a rectangle is base times height. Base times height. And you find the area, and it's going to be inches squared. So you can find that part. Now we try to find the base and height of this one. Well, I know that this is 7. It's not cheating to use the information that they give me. I know that this part's 7. I have to figure out what this part is. So here's the part where I have to use the information they give me and deduce what's going on. So I know this part is 7 because this part is 7. How long is this part? Well, this whole side is 10. This whole side going up and down is 10. And this part of it, this part of that side, would be 6. So if that much of it is 6, and the whole thing is 10, how much is left over? Well, then you need to do 10 minus 6. You need to subtract out this much to find out what this part is. So if you do 10 minus 6, you're going to know that this side is 4 inches. I'm going to write over here, 4 inches. This whole side is 15, but I can't multiply 15 times 7 because I'm not using the whole side. I'm just looking at this rectangle. And for this rectangle, the base is 7 and the height is 4. Because 4 plus 6 is going to equal this whole length. So for figure 2, you're going to have to multiply 7, the base, times 4, the height. And again, once you get your answer, it's going to be in inches squared. So now we have figure 1 left over. Again, we have to use the information that we have to figure out the base and height. Remember, for a triangle, the area is half of base times height, because a triangle is half of a rectangle. Well, I already know this side, because I figured it out for this rectangle, and they share the same side. So I know that the height is 4. I need to figure out what this side is. Well, I've got to use the information they give me and play around with it a little bit. This whole side is 15. But I'm not using the whole side, I'm just using that much. So let's see, how can I figure out this side? Well, I know this much of it is 5. This is 5, because that's 5. Of the 15, this much is 5. And I know this much of it is 7, because in this rectangle, if that's 7, this is 7. So of the whole 15, this much is 5, this much is 7. How much is left over? So I'm going to have to add these two. 5 and 7 is 12. So this much of it is 12. What is left over? The whole thing is 15, and this much of it is 12. What's left over? You're going to have to do 15 minus 12. and then you'll figure out that this much is 3. So now to find the area of the triangle we made for shape 1, you're going to have to do half of base times height, which is half of 3 times 4. And what I like to do is I like to multiply the base times the height and then divide by 2. So once you finish that, again, this is all inches. Your answer is going to be in inches squared. So you need to finish this calculation, get the area of the triangle, do your calculation here, the base times height, get your area for this, and then do your calculation of your base times height, get the area for this, and then add them all together. Once you do that, let someone check your answer. Okay, now that you checked the last one, this is the last example you're going to do before you start to practice on your own. This one's pretty straightforward, actually, because it's kind of easy to see that there are 2 distinct shapes. There's a rectangle, and then there's a triangle. And if I draw a line to divide them here, then I'm just going to find the area of those 2 shapes. So you can use a ruler if you want to, but it's probably pretty easy just by eyeballing it to just draw the line. I'm not using the ruler to measure it. I'm going to use the information that they give me. I'm just using the ruler to make a straight line. Okay, well, again, I think it's easier if you kind of number the shapes so you keep up with the areas that you're finding. Let's start with figure 1. Figure 1 is a rectangle. The area formula for area of a rectangle is base times height. And I need to look and see if they gave me that information. Well, I know the base is 8. And I know the height is 5. So once I multiply those, I'm going to know the area of this shape. And I'm going to make sure my units are centimeters squared, because I'm multiplying base times height. Then I have this triangle. I'm going to use a different color. The triangle's formula for area is half of base times height. Well, I know the height. They tell me that this is 5. So I know the height's going to be 5. What is this base? I have to put together the information that they give me. I know that this whole thing would be 8. All the way across here would be 8 because this whole thing is 8. But I don't need the whole thing. I just need this part. Well, this much of it is 1. This much of it is 2. So what is the part that's left over? I need to subtract it from 8. So 1 plus 2, I can do that, mental math. 1 plus 2 is 3. So there's 3 centimeters of this I'm not using. How much of it am I using? I'm going to have to do 8 minus 5. Which again is, 8 minus 3. I'm working ahead of myself. 8 minus 3, because 2 plus 1, these are the parts I'm not using, is 5. I'm going ahead of myself. So I know my height is 5, I know my base is 5. So now I can use my formula. And again, what I like to do is I like to multiply base times height and then divide by 2. And when I'm done, my answer is going to be in centimeters squared. Even though I divided by 2, I'm still multiplying 2 numbers together. It's still base times height. So once you get your area for the rectangle and you get your area for the triangle, add those together, get your total area, and let someone check you.